This video is brought to you by the Harmonic Souls Organized Play Yu-Gi-Oh group, and before you ask, no, they didn't pay me, I'm doing this for free. Harmonic Souls is an online Yu-Gi-Oh group that offers free Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments on Dueling Book complete with prizes. In our current times dealing with the CV, most of us duelists can't even go to locals, let alone major events being canceled all throughout the TCG, so I think it's important that you guys know there's still a way out there to play some meaningful new format MR5 competitive duels and maybe be able to take home some prizes at the same time. I personally implore you guys to check out them on the Dueling Book forum or join their Discord in the description below. What's up YouTube, Capital G here. So as you guys are fully aware of, Konami just updated the Forbidden and Limited list. They made some sweeping changes that should maybe drive the meta in a potential new direction. We also have that coinciding with the start of Master Rule 5, and all of this is going to take place within the span of a week, and I think things have the potential of getting a little crazy. Now obviously there are no competitive events, however people still will be playing the game competitively online, and that is why I am still going to deliver you guys my top 5 best decks for the April 1st 2020 list, and I feel pretty good about this list. Now everything up until the beginning of June has been taken into consideration because our next ban list should be no sooner than June 1st 2020. This means Eternity Code, Secret Slayers, the Machina Structure deck, all of those things will be taken into consideration with my top 5 and then, you know, my honorable mentions potentially. Anyways, let's go ahead and just jump into it. At the 5 spot, I actually found myself having a tie, and that is between Orcas and Madolche. I lumped these two archetypes together because I feel like they're both going to greatly improve and benefit from the release of Eternity Code. Let's talk about Orcas first, because Orcas kind of underperformed this format. A lot of people thought it was still going to be a high-tier meta deck. We know that ultimately that did not turn out to be true, but Orcas is getting Mech Knight Orcas Girsu and Eternity Code, and that card is absolutely insane. If you guys have not seen it, it's a 1-card Orcas combo. It allows you to drop any of your Orcas monsters straight from your deck into the graveyard. Basically Armageddon Knight, but better. Number 1, it's not limited. Number 2, it's technically searchable if you want to run a small Mech Knight package because it is a Mech Knight card. Especially if you're going second, you can use something like Mech Knight Blue Sky to just search it from your deck. I think this card allows your going second game to be significantly better in Orcas, but even when you're going first, as I said, it is a 1-card Orcas combo. It does have the ability to turn itself into a tuner, and it benefits from having multiple cards in the same column, and that means that yeah, you might actually be able to explore some needle fiber options. I really like the idea of including the Mech Knights into the Orcas strategy. Not only does it make their going second game better, and it gives them more opportunities to OTK, but it also gives them more disruption. You can run things like World Legacy Secret, which lets you Monster Reborn any of your Mech Knight monsters, and then kind of negate one of your opponent's monster effects that is trying to activate in that column. So I feel like this card just, it stabilizes Orcas. When it comes to Madolche, this one's kind of simple in my opinion. Madolche as a combo deck has one of the highest ceilings in the entire game. This is an archetype that has multiple 1-card plus 11 OTKs. Keep in mind, you can even take 4 cards off of your opponent's field, which is absolutely nuts. And with the new rulings that are coming with Master Rule 5, Tierra Masu, a card that spins back to your opponent's main or extra deck, that's actually going to be getting better because a lot of those effects that when they leave the field activate, like Absolute Zero, are no longer going to activate. So that's going to help Tierra Masu. When you really look at Madolche, doesn't it just kind of feel like Konami wants the deck to be meta again? Like, all of the support Madolche has gotten over like the last 3, 4, 5 sets has all been amazing. Going back to Savage Strike and Madolche Petting Cessor into Dart Neostorm, and then obviously the cards in Eternity Code, Promenade, which is amazing. It allows Madolche to go first and get negation against the opponent if the opponent does force them to go first, or Madolche Salon, which gives them another summon in case you do disrupt their first summon. They still have the ability to go off. It feels like everything's just kind of coming together for Madolche. The only thing that I really don't like about Madolche is they don't really have a way playing around something like Nibiru. It's kind of one of those situations where it's like, if they have it, they have it. Honestly, I kind of look at Madolche and I just think it's like a safer, better version of Heroes, in my opinion. Number 4, Atomithea. And by the way, I'm so sorry for mispronouncing this archetype's name for such a long time. I had no idea I was doing it. It wasn't to spite you guys or anything like that. So if you guys have seen the videos I've posted of Atomithea on my channel, you know I am very, very, very bullish on this deck. I believe it is going to be probably like the next big combo deck. Atomithea is amazing. The ceiling of the archetype is absolutely insane. To me, this deck is very, very similar to something like Madolche. However, this deck can play through Nibiru fairly easily. You can use things like Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon before your 5th summon, or you can even get lucky and maybe summon like a Quackimiro Guardian from your deck, and you know the Guardian can basically throw itself out of Nibiru if your opponent has that. This deck is really, really strong. Obviously, it uses a lot of synchro monsters, and some of the ending boards are just, they overwhelm your opponent. When you have a Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, Atomithea, Dragite to negate your opponent's spells and traps, Herald of the Arclight, and even more disruption, there's not a lot your opponent can do. Going second, I think this deck is just as formidable. I mean, to be honest, it can pump out damage like nobody's business, and I really think Konami's going to be kicking themselves for not putting any type of restrictions on Atomithea. This deck is one that can use Needle Fiber. They can go into things like Boa Sword. The fact that you're not restricted to just the archetype or just synchro summoning is actually insane. Honestly, I don't really have any doubts about this archetype other than the fact that it is unproven, but the potential of the archetype is insane. The consistency of the archetype is insane. It can go first or second. The ceiling is very, very high. I'm very, very confident in this archetype. Number 3 is Orcas, aka Old Reliable, Old Faithful. Basically a deck that has just been really, really stable over like the last year and a half when it comes to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Truth be told, I kind of want to flip Atomithea and Orcas because I think that Atomithea is better, but one is super proven and the other archetype hasn't established or proven anything, so I guess I'll just kind of hold the numbers or the positions that I have them at. Orcas is a deck that has kind of proven itself to be one of the best control decks in the game. I feel like it's proven probably over the last 3 months or so that it's just a little more viable than something like Guru Control. The competitive success has been there. Every time it seems like people are discounting Orcas or it's a deck like not worth taking seriously, Orcas ends up winning some big event or doing incredibly well, and you're like, oh yeah, that deck, it's still really solid. Orcas is a deck that pretty much doesn't have any chance of getting hit in the future. I know that Milusig, I believe, is at 2 in the OCG, but we didn't get that here in the TCG, and honestly, as long as Extravagant stays at 3, these super slow control decks that run a bunch of traps are going to be fine. Like, ever since Solemn Judgment went to 3, they've been sticking out their chest and they've been doing incredibly well. Orcas is just going to be probably the de facto super control deck of the format. I think that Draco, Guru control players, they'll probably all shift to this. If you're not looking to spam the board, this should be one of the first decks that you actually consider playing in this format. Number 2, Dinosaurs. So Dinosaurs are that perfect combination of getting better with the release of Eternity Code and also not really losing anything on the Forbidden and Limited list. When you look at what people expected to happen to the archetype, I thought it was on the table maybe that Miscellaneousaurus could go back to 1, or maybe Soul Eating Oviraptor could get hit, but none of that happened, so Dinosaurs pretty much skated, and they're also going to be getting Jeweled Beast Argosaurus out of Eternity Code. Hell, even if Oviraptor went to 1, I feel like Jeweled Beast Argosaurus could have picked up the slack. The card is absolutely insane. It allows Baby Ceresaurus to be even more nuts than it already is, which that card is pretty much like one of the best combo enablers in the deck. I think Dinosaurs are going to have a good time because even some of their cards, some of the cards that they're relying on a little bit, things like Mystic Mine, when they're going second, even those didn't get hit. Now, my only concern with Dinosaurs is the fact that Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, did go to 1, and I know that if you force Dinosaurs to go first, that was one of the plays that they were relying on, or that they were kind of moving towards. Maybe they would Trish you and then go for like Lithogasm, and they would make True King of All Calamities to lock you out of monster effects. And while they still have the ability to do that rather easily, it is going to somewhat conflict with something like Pot of Extravagance, which I would not cut from the deck. It just means that like if they activate Extravagance Maybe they might end up banishing that one copy of Trishula, and if they do, okay, well now the True King of all Calamities play is no longer on the table, and you get a chance to like actually use monster effects that turn. So I feel like in certain situations, if they go first, which they don't traditionally want to do, some of their turn one plays might be worse. But overall, I feel like this deck, for what they gained in the Jewel Beast Argosaurus, this deck is in really good shape. My honorable mentions include Shadow Invoked and Rockets. Finally, to our number one, Salome Great. As the official Salome ambassador, I have an obligation to the Yu-Gi-Oh community to give you guys the truth. I will never lie to you, and I will not lie to you guys now. Salome Great is the best deck. Salome Great, in my opinion, overperformed last formats. For a deck that had Stalyo banned, it definitely should not have been as good as it actually was, and it shouldn't have been as successful as it was. But damn if them Salome Great players are not loyal, because they moved on to all types of different crazy things, whether it was running Fire Fist, Synchro Monsters, or Red Resonator. All types of stuff was seeing play and ultimately seeing success in Salome Greats, and the deck completely skated. Let's be real, Salome Greats didn't lose anything. We know how consistent the deck is. We know how strong the grind game is. It's really not going to be affected by Master Rule 5 in any significant way, and just the consistency of Salome Great is just so damn high. I'm not saying that they don't have certain matchups that are just bad. Like, I think the Shadow Invoked matchup is terrible for them because they don't have a lot of good ways of being able to outwinda. However, I think that deck is a little overvalued, and I'm not very high on Shadow Invoked going into this format. I think the numbers will come down, and it won't be as popular as it was right after the structure deck was released. But I think, Salome Great are in a good position, and right now, they're kind of my default pick to be the best deck of this format. That could change, obviously, as things eventually do play out, but for right now, them losing absolutely nothing, they are my top dog of the format. Anyways, what do you guys think of my picks, and what are your picks? If you guys felt like I left something off that needs to be on this list, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.